shattered lives in the name of communalism. We all know what is happening in Kashmir. It's an issue which never seems to be getting resolved. I don't see it being resolved in my lifetime. At least that's how it looks like to me. No matter who the politician, no matter who the people who are in power and are elected over there, they don't seem to be having the interest of the people in their mind. And it's more like, how can we kind of create conflict? How can we kind of create more unrest so that there's an entire kind of issue which keeps, erupting over there so that people can kind of use that to their advantage. So I'll open the floor. I'll start with Colonel Gopal Karunakaran, who will kind of share his insights, and then we'll have Mr. Rakesh Mathur to share his insights. Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to seriously draw on what Jerry said about speaking for 5 minutes and really asking you to share views and questions. I've spent from 1982 to 2003, in a span of about 20 years, I've spent about 10 years in Kashmir. And while it's easy for you to assume that a colonel's perspective on Kashmir is likely to be a soldier's perspective on Kashmir, I'd like to just share that a soldier is as much as a human being and a concerned Indian citizen. So the perspective I'll share is more in terms of as an Indian citizen, as a citizen of humanity, what does one see in Kashmir? And I'd like to actually go straight to two unusual positions which are normally less articulated, and they are unusual. So Jerry himself is likely to challenge me on it because of something he just said. Kashmir issue seems to be of the entire state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now that itself is questionable. The state of Jammu and Kashmir as it was in 1947 at the time of the dispute when we went to the United Nations, etc., actually constitutes about 40% which is not in Indian control. So we have 30% in Pakistan, 10% in the Aksai Chin region of China, and 60% in India. The second dimension of the 60% in India is that the Kashmir issue, as we see in our drawing rooms, debated in Delhi and Bombay and international fora, is fundamentally about a region called the Kashmir Valley, which out of that 60% of the mass is about 20% of the whole state of Jammu and Kashmir. So the dispute which you see among the people is of a very small mass of people. And therefore, when you look at a resolution, we are looking at a resolution of Jammu and Kashmir as, a lot of concerned citizens who talk to us when we come down from Kashmir, sister, mother. My father was a political scientist in Delhi. Everybody will say, if it's such a huge dispute, the people want Kashmir, why don't we just give away Jammu and Kashmir? So then we come to the second position. The first position which I've made is that it's actually of a people in a very small region of the huge mass of Jammu and Kashmir. The Ladakhis, the people from Jammu, the people from Skardu and Gilgit, which is in Pakistan, are three huge regions of the state which is apparently disputed. The second point which I'm making, therefore, is that there is actually no geographical resolution of this problem. There is no geographical solution. It's not Germany. It's not Korea. This region has ethnic, religious, geographic divides which are so huge that any attempt to put it together as an independent Kashmir, for example, or as the Kashmiris Pakistanis would wish as a part which goes to Pakistan, which will actually cause a lot more shattered lives if it is ever considered. So actually one of the things I'm really saying is that as Indians, as people who look at this as a problem of humanity, maybe it's time to say there is no geographic solution to the problem of Kashmir. And start stating that. That only happens if you really understand the geography, the region, the ethnicity. So can you imagine if Kashmir was to be independent, as we keep hearing from the little Hurriyat and the TV debates that we hear, what would the Ladakhis do? What would in fact the people across the Pir Panjal to the south do? There's a whole region called the Shamshabari Range, which separates most of the western part of Kashmir Valley to the other side, which is a little bit of the line of control. There are Punjabi Muslim Gujars there. They have no wish to be part of Kashmiris on the valley side. So actually, this is a myth that we have perpetuated about a Kashmir solution. I just like to state that there is no solution as we would expect, because Kashmir is not a 2,000-year-old region. Kashmir, as we know it, is only about 70 years old before partition, when Skardu and Gilgit was captured by the Sikh forces. So there has never been the sort of homogeneity which you would expect, which you saw in Germany and Korea. So this myth of Kashmir having a solution geographically is of those people who are not really aware of the realities on ground. So I'd like to just leave it at that, and maybe we could, discuss this as we go into the, the question answer or discussion part.
Thank you, Colonel. So what you're saying is we cannot have a separate state, or there's no real geographical solution for it. But I mean, sticking to the theme, shattered lives in the name of communalism, would you like to kind of reflect on what are the people supposed to do in this age of conflict, which does not seem to have any kind of, resolution being passed around it in the near future?
Absolutely. I wanted to make these 2 points very clearly to whatever is, number of people who can take this forward as a perspective from somebody who's spent many years in the mountains. But the aspect of shattered lives in the name of communalism is completely true. When in one village there is, for example, one military action which takes place in a village of say 400-500 people, to just describe a sort of a military action is that when there's information, intelligence that there is a couple of militants who've holed up in a village, what happens is actually very medieval in terms of how the military or the way the system runs to capture those two militants. So you have the whole night the area cordoned off, people asked to come out in the morning when they were supposed to be going to school, going to their fields, going to work. Everything stops because the military has cordoned this area off. Everybody has to come to a central point. It obviously upsets their day, but it's also the emotional trauma that young people are subjected to.